The new Saved by the Bell reboot has just started streaming, but if you've been a long-time fan, it's definitely not the one that you are used to. Let's talk about it. Let's go. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Klepcx FM, brought to you by WeAreCritics.com, and today we're talking about none other than the Saved by the Bell reboot that just started streaming today on NBC's Peacock streaming network. I've been waiting a long time for this since it's been announced, guys. We've got a lot to talk about. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about the comparison from the original to the new. We're going to talk about character comparisons. We're going to talk about whether I dug it or whether or not I didn't dig it. And we're going to talk about all the new changes and some things that they may have tried to keep the same. And I say may have tried, but we're going to get into all of it. So again, this is fair warning. If you do not want any spoilers and you want to go into this thing with your own mindset and your own opinions and you want to come out of it with your own thought process, please ignore this video for now. But please, when you're done, come back and share what you thought about it, because of course, as always, I want to know what you thought, if you agree, if you didn't agree. It's all about, sharing opinions and talking about what's hot and what's not. So please, again, fair warning, I'm going in on this. I try my best not to spoil it, but hey, if it happens, it happens. So let's dive into it. The Saved by the Bell reboot. Did I like it? Did I hate it? I'll wait to the end to let you know about that. But for first, I want to talk about this thing. It's not what we're used to if you're a longtime fan of the original series. The writers that they brought into this are definitely big-time NBC players. We're talking about writers of 30 Rock, Emmy Award-winning writers, of course, that dove into this and kind of gave this reboot a fresh take, a fresher feeling for new generations and for new watchers. And I mean, there's a little bit of things in there for us older fans of the show. So let's start with some of the topics that are touched on this. We know that Saved by the Bell at some point, the original series, of course, at some point they started touching like serious topics like, drug addiction, drug use, even cheating, relationships, that kind of thing. They tried to get serious back in the day, and so this series here kind of tries to do the same thing, but in a different way. Now it's more along the lines of what's going on in today's society. So I'm not gonna lie, this thing, it kind of, I don't want to say ruin the experience for me. Like, and that's not saying whether I liked it or no, I didn't like it. I'm just saying that it kind of takes away from the innocence of the original series. By touching a lot more serious topics, such as racism. There's a lot of racist talk. There's a lot of racial issues and topics in this series that you're not going to be able to ignore because it's right in your face. There's this thing in the series that sets the series off that I wasn't at first. It threw me off a little bit, and I wasn't really a fan. I was thinking too much. I was diving too much into it, peeling layers back to see. Because nowadays you got to kind of do that, because nothing is just done for pure entertainment much anymore. There's always like an underlining, some sort of message coming through to the viewers. And in this case, I was noticing that they were pinning Bayside to be this uppity, high class, all white school that wasn't accustomed to black and brown kids. That really wasn't. Growing up, I never watched the show feeling that that's what Bayside was, because it was always like a diverse kind of a student body. We got Lisa, but then there was also the I can't remember the black kid's name, but he was the nerd in the school. And then they had like other cameos of kids that were coming in. It just wasn't something that they really made known. So watching it, you just didn't really feel. Me personally, I didn't feel like the school was, lacking of kids of diversity, because there were a lot of different kinds of kids in and out the hallways and things like that I would pick up on. But this one clearly pins the school as being, high class, all white, mostly white. in that the black and brown kids come from a lower class, not so rich public school, and that there was a little bit of a problem for me in the beginning, because I was just like, what they were making it seem like is that, all these kids from the other school, which is called Douglas High, weren't accustomed to anything that was going on in the world of Bayside, such as having tablets and technology and funding for school, which, don't get me wrong, that happens. There are lower class schools out there that are like that. But in this world, in this universe, it's just something that I wasn't used to as a longtime fan of this series, and never ever felt like that ever. But it's right in your face. They make sure that you know this and that you understand the setting in which is going on. So right off the bat, there's already conflict with the characters. So it's like a fish out of water story with kids from Douglas High. The school's closed down, and because of something that the governor Zach Morris has done, and now they're tossed into Bayside High because the kids need education, and Zach's back is against the wall, and people are asking, well, where are my kids gonna go? You know what I mean? And at first it's fun, it's cool, but then a lot of layers get peeled back, and then you start realizing that the kids in the school, and not only just the kids but the parents, are very, very like racist. There's a lot of judgment going on. There's a lot of finger pointing going on. Things are happening. Things come up missing, and they're really using the new kids as, I don't know how to say it. It's just a lot of like a lot of racial tension, but in a subtle way. It's not no one's barking, but there is, it's like a subtle poke fun at it, make fun out of it kind of thing. What's going on? So right off the bat, when I say that this show is different than what we're used to, this is what I mean. Like it's very now. It's very much for this generation of kids, and it's very in your face with a lot of the social issues that we've been dealing with for the past year, and so just be prepared for that, because anyone that's a big time fan like I have of the old series, you're definitely going to go in and see things different, in the way that they're telling jokes, and the way that the kids are interacting, and the issues, like the dilemmas that happen in this, very racial driven, and for this time and this generation, I guess it's needed. It's very necessary. But this is definitely not our show that we grew up on, so that's what I want to put out there. The cast. I think that the new class of Bayside has arrived. They all hold their weight. They all have great comedic timing. They all have great chemistry. I was looking for significant character traits and similar character traits from the new to the old. And what I kind of came to was that, first I want to give you the names. The Mac is Zach Morris's son, and he's very much like Zach, except he's a little bit more arrogant than I remember Zach being. Again, there was a type of innocence in the original Saved by the Bell that you would have never, that you can't really duplicate. I don't know. Now in this time, it's like, it's just different. This kid Mac he's very privileged. His dad's the governor of California. He's never failed a class. Everything is like a bird course for him. People just roll the carpet out for this kid. He's just got everything figured out. And of course, he's up to his occasional schemes, just like his dad. So Mac is that character. He literally is Zach. But then you get one of his friends, which is Jamie, who is the son of Jesse Spano, who is the guidance counselor in the school. And Jamie is different. And what I mean by that is he's more of a Slater meets Ox character. And if any of you guys don't remember Ox from the original, he was like this big brute of a football player who was completely mindless. Like, he was just a brute. He was dumb. He was more like an ogre from Revenge of the Nerds. And that's Jamie's character. Like, he's a lot better good looking than Ox, of course, but he's a jock, but he's just not smart up here. And he just reminded me of, like, okay, so he's like a Slater meets Ox, which we've never gotten an Ox character on the original Saved by the Bell that was a front man, you know what I mean? So that was kind of cool to see his character, especially being the sibling. I mean, not a sibling, but a child of the original cast member. They didn't give him the clout like they gave Mac. They kind of, and he's also like he's a mama's boy, big time mama's boy. Like she coddles him throughout the entire series almost, and it's kind of funny. So that works. Then we have Lexi, who's like probably like one of the most interesting characters because Lexi, played by Josie Toda, I believe the name is, and she is transgender, and she's also like the Lisa character. In my mind, like I said, I'm doing my own character comparison. So what I mean by that is she's the mean. Lisa wasn't sort of the mean girl, but she was kind of pinned as like being the mean, pretty, popular, fashionable girl. So I'm gonna say that she reminds me of Lisa being that person, the fashionable, popular, but she's also a mean girl in the series. So Lexi stands out. She holds her own. She's a powerhouse on screen. She owns every scene that she's in. So shout out to Lexi. So that's my character comparison for Lexi. Then we have Aisha, which is one of the girls from Douglas who gets transferred in. Now she's best friends with who I think is the main character. Which is her name is Daisy, and Daisy and Aisha are both transferred, and also another kid, Dexter. Dexter Darden is the real name. His show name is Devante. The D's I got it messed up. So Devante, Daisy, and Aisha all get transferred from Douglas. Now Devante is black kid. Aisha, I'm gonna assume, I think she may be black and Spanish mixed. That's the kind of look she kind of has. So I don't want to but they haven't given us origins on all these characters. But I'm gonna guess that she's based on the way that she wears her hair and things like that. I'm kind of guessing. But and then Daisy, who is Latina, straight up. Her mother's Latina. They show her mother on the show, so you get a bit of a backstory about her. Daisy and Aisha are best friends. Devante is more of an outcast. He's a loner, kind of to himself. Now, he, to me, is the most interesting one other than Lexi because we've never seen a character like him that's in the front. The last character that we probably seen like Devante would have been Jesse's brother in the old series. I can't remember what his name was, but yeah, he's more of a loner. He's trying to figure himself out. He's not really into cliques or being friendly with anyone. He's just kind of just there trying to coast through and do his thing. He stays out of the way, and anyone trying to give him pep talks or the good talking tos like they did back in the day when it was always like a moral lesson to be learned. He's just not trying to hear it. It's like that's old school to me. Like he's a now kid. And so Daisy and Aisha, best friends again. Daisy to me, she's the Zach Morris meets Jesse. Now she's very woke. She's very she's an activist. She's very stern. She's a firm believer, putting her foot down and fighting for what she believes in. But she's also the one that they give the fourth wall breaking ability to. So you see a lot of the timeouts as a nod to Zach Morris whenever a situation happens and he just needs a minute to think about what's going on and share with the audience. She pulls the timeout move almost throughout the entire season, which was cool. It was fun, a fun nod. So also, there's a running joke about the old phone that Zach Morris used to carry around. Her mother makes her use that because her mom doesn't want her to have a smartphone. So it's kind of like her mom's a helicopter mom, and she gives her this big ass 1990 cellular phone to carry around. So you see that every once in a while. Her friend Aisha, she's cool because these new kids are very interesting, and the take that they do. So Aisha is an athlete who, again, is kind of a slater because she's a football player. So I don't want to give you too much of her story because it's a cool little interesting episode for her. She ends up trying out for the football team, and that's something that's just unique. You never see that kind of thing in the Saved by the Bell universe. So like I said, this series is totally different than what the original fans like myself are used to. It takes it different places. What makes it interesting and makes it fun is all these different personalities and all these kids. Now what they do in this series that I think is funny is they make the stuff that they make fun of excuse me, the things that they make fun of in this are hilarious. Like, of course, they touch on the racism stuff. They talk about the cancel culture almost immediately into the series, which is hilarious. They also talk about besides the cancel culture, is they're not afraid to make fun of themselves. Like, the whole time, the Douglas kids are in reality. Bayside is stuck in the 90s. Like, they're literally, it's like the entire school, based off of their generation, has raised them all to be pussies, so to speak. They are just in their own world. Everything just comes to them so easily. Everything is just whatever. We can get away with that. We got money, we can pay for it, we can do that, we can do this. Which, like I said, was not something that I got from the kids at Bayside. It never occurred to me that any of those kids were well off or like extremely rich, because they were very humble, and they all took to people. Like, they took in Slater with no problem. They took in Tori with no problem. Like, everybody just kind of seemed like they were on the old playing field, or maybe they just didn't tell those stories properly, or bold enough, because it just never. The only character again was Jesse's brother, because half brother I should say, because of course he was a thief. Like, he didn't care. He was worse than Zach. So but other than that, they never alluded to the fact that Bayside was a school full of well-off kids. But they make fun of themselves so much through this whole thing. You see the differences in the kids from Douglas, especially with Daisy, who's like the Zach character. She is not afraid to point it out. Like, people, they show, for example, they do the love triangle thing between Zach and Jamie's character, where they both fall for the same girl, and they're talking about the same girl, but they don't realize that they're talking about the same girl. But it's so obvious to the audience that they're talking about the same girl, and the only one who can see this is Daisy's character, and it's fucking hilarious. So, and she's not afraid to call him out on it. So that's one of the things that they make fun of. There's also an episode where one of the kids hires an actor to play their parent in school to avoid a phone call. There's a lot of nods to the original, like that you can't avoid, and you just gotta respect that they're respecting the old school Saved by the Bell. So hats off to them for doing that, and it's pretty cool. So I think new kids will probably enjoy the little bit of the things that we already knew about, but I think newer kids will enjoy that a lot. Some of the other callbacks, other than some of the jokes, so there are a lot of cameos in this, and if you are a real fan, you will pick some of them up. I'm going to talk about these cameos, so like I said, if you don't want to hear this and you want to see it for yourself, please jet. But I'm going to go into it because I'm kind of feeling nostalgic. Like, I feel good about talking about this right now. So we got Mr. Dewey. He shows up. Everybody knows Mr. Dewey, the geeky guy with the glasses. He looks good for his age. He's still in the show, but we saw him in the trailer. Trying to think who else. There's a joke about Tori. So you're gonna hear some name drops. There's a joke about Tori. There is a joke about Jeff, which everybody knows, the infamous Jeff, who was the reason that Zach and Kelly broke up in the first place. So you're gonna hear that name, and it's a funny nod. It's a little, when they throw it in, it's really funny. And also, there's some good callbacks as far as like flashback stuff. The new principal, who's not Belding, Toddson, I think. Todd, I can't even remember her name. Yeah, Toddson, I believe his name is. Todman is his name. Played by John Michael Higgins, who everybody should know from the Tone Rangers and the Breakup. Hilarious guy. There's this long skit about how he knew them from the past, and I'll just leave it at that. So there's like a big flashback scene of him, and he inserted him in a lot of popular scenes from the old school Saved by the Bell show, which is kind of ridiculous. There's some really ridiculous things in this series, but you got to be able to laugh at it to enjoy it. So like I said, your kids, the new generation, will probably look at this thing and probably be like, what the hell is this bullshit? Anyone that's like myself, that's a huge fan of the Bayside universe, Saved by the Bell universe, will probably go into this thing lighthearted and just laugh at it and just, call it what it is. Like, we're at the stage right now where we know when something is on the nose and when something is just outlandish and just on downright ridiculous. Like, we're smart enough to see that, know that. And I feel like they did that a lot in this, to kind of just not take themselves seriously so that we would take them seriously. And yeah, and it works a little bit. It works a little bit. Things that I don't like about this show, because there's a couple things I didn't like about the series. For one, the theme song, horrendous, horrible. I don't know whose idea that was. It was cool that they used the same song. They just remixed it in a way that was just totally trash. I hated it. Every time it would come on, I'd be like, I almost wanted to fast forward it, but I didn't, just because I didn't want to do anything extra. I just wanted to sit there and watch it. So I didn't pick up the remote to fast forward through the intro, but I hated the new take on the song. They do, however, bring back the original song, but they only bring back the original song for one episode, I believe, and it was the episode where you get all the original cast members in that episode. So it was a little nostalgia nod that they did. They knew that they were going to have Zach Kelly, Slater, Jesse, all in one episode, with another special cameo. But you guys out there may or may not already know who I'm talking about, but I'm not going to spoil that, because I didn't, if you notice, I didn't say the name when I said that there were a lot of cameos, but there's a special other cameo in that episode. But they play the original song just for that episode, and then they go back to the new bullshit that I don't like it. I don't like the remix on it. It's just horrendous to me. More outdoor settings. This series just doesn't take place at Bayside. It doesn't just take place inside of a home. We actually get some outdoor action where people are going into stores. The Max, we get an exterior of the Max for once, which doesn't look like a bad spot to hang out at. I wish I was at the Max. But there was a pop-up that we just had not too long ago, and I never got a chance to make it out there. But yeah, it looks great. Like, they take their time with this, and they expand the universe a little bit so that we don't feel like we're just confined within the walls of the school. The new look on Bayside, it looks great. It kind of reminded me of like Degrassi, like when they redid the school, and there's a lot of glass, there's a lot of, and walking through the hallways, there's like a lot of glass everywhere, so it looks very modern. You still get that same hallway that everybody knows about with the stairwell and the lockers on the sides and stuff like that. You still get that old school vibe. So that's one thing. Another, I'll get into the other thing that I was really not happy about, but there are two more cool moments in this thing, which I'm very, very happy that they did. They gave Slater and Jesse the best arcs. Slater is the cool he's the cool teacher. I always end up doing that. Slater is the cool teacher. And what I mean by that is he's the guy that's still close at heart to his students. And there's a moment in the series where he has to choose between being the responsible adult and the cool teacher. And at that moment, he kind of breaks out of his midlife crisis. And, Slater has a defining moment, which is kind of cool. And it works really well because you get a little bit of the Slater that we've grown up to love. And then you get a little bit of the Slater that, he's become. And him being a father, I'm sure that was probably like something that he really was excited to do and express, because it just gave that character a little bit more depth. It's good to see that they're not afraid to let these characters grow up so that they can move on and do something different within that universe. For Jesse, the same thing. Throughout the series, it's kind of funny because we've always known Jesse as a strong stand-up feminist who, put her foot down and she was an active. She was the Daisy. She was the Daisy character back in the day. And throughout the series, she's kind of more reserved. She has a husband that's ambitious and out in the world, gone for months at a time, doing whatever it is that he does, and she's a single mom basically because he's never around, and she provides so that at home while he provides out there, and she never sees him, and she coddles her son, Jamie, and he's a mama's boy, and she just does whatever it takes to just please him and keep him comfortable. And she's not thinking about number one like we know her. And then she has a moment where she has to choose between whether she's going to play second to this guy, her husband's dream, or is she gonna finally step up and take control of her life? And we get that defining moment. So that was, like I said, the two cool things that I really like that they gave the original cast, because there's so much growth with this new class. Like, I think that they do a phenomenal job. Like I said, the new class has arrived, and this is the new class that we deserved back when they tried to do the Saved by the Bell, the new class series at the old Bayside. That, I mean, I can't say it didn't work, because that thing lasted for I think 7 more seasons after that, and I was surprised because I wasn't really into that new class episode. I watched the college years and then I checked out. But yeah, so I think that those two cool things work very well for the original fans like myself. But the one thing I didn't like was I wasn't really a fan of the Zach Morris character and the Kelly Kapowski character. I don't know if that's where Zach would be right now, or who he would be, I should say. I tried to wrap my head around it many times, like watching it, and I'm just like, I don't know. Like, some of it I got, like the relationship between Zach and his son, brilliant, spot on. I love it. Keep doing more of that if this thing gets a season 2, which I don't see it ever having a problem getting a season 2, because one, the viewership is going to be out of here, and 2, it's NBC's property, so they can bring the show back if they want to. But the relationship, I see Zach being that kind of guy where he's just like, he's so into himself or into what he needs to do and his image that he's a good dad, but he's not a good dad physically. Like, he's not there. But he kind of, he needs to be put in check or reminded, by his loved ones that, hey, we're over here. And then he kind of snaps back. But yeah, he's a little full of himself. He's a little, him and Kelly Kelly's like an airhead. She's like out of it. Like, she's not even, it's like she doesn't even see what's going on between Zach and his son and doesn't acknowledge it. And he's just like, the politician. It's weird. It's just weird, because I don't know if that's where Zach would, like, I mean, they're the writers, they know. I'm just saying, for me as a fan, I don't know if that's where Zach Morris would be, or who he would be, I should keep saying, today, or 30 years, 20 years from when they were at Bayside or when they were at Cal U. But yeah, man, I mean, that's it. Overall, did I like the show? Did I hate the show? I'm gonna be real. I got my nostalgia fix. This is what I wanted to watch. This is what I was dying to see, because I just wanted to dive back into that universe one more time, or just to see where all my favorite characters are today. I got to tell you that it's a little bit too now for me. I just remember watching that series and being, a kid, and just kind of escaping what's surrounding me, and it was like the best half hour of my teen, my adolescent years. And this one here just kind of puts you back into reality with all the harder topics, a lot throughout the entire thing. But it's not bad. It's very entertaining. It's good. It's funny. But for me, as a hardcore fan, I got my fix. I don't know if I'll go back for the season 2. Maybe I will. This is just me now. I brushed through 10 episodes. They're only a half hour long, maybe 27 minutes the least. And it was great. It was great. It was a great ride. I laughed a lot. I cringed my face a lot. I even teared a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. There's some very warm moments in some episodes. A lot of the episodes end with a moral message, and like the first episode, the pilot was really good. Dexter Darden, that guy, man, I've loved him since the binge, and he's a singer too, and he does his thing. And there's a moment in the first episode where, I mean, he gets to show off. Let's just say that he gets to show off, and it's a heartwarming moment for the kids of Douglas as they arrive at Bayside for the first time. So, guys, that's my review. I would rate it, honestly. Tonally, I'm going to go with 2.5 because I feel like there are times where it gets a little too serious. I mean, not serious, silly. Where they're not taking themselves they're not taking themselves serious enough. Just to kind of, like, we get it. Like, the original show was a little bit corny for now standards. But back then, to us, it wasn't corny. To us, they were the coolest kids on the block. It was the coolest show on the block. And I feel like this whole making fun of ourselves thing can be pushed a little too far sometimes. Just make a really good series. Like, I think that the show has really great moments. Really, really, really great moments. And then sometimes it's just like, okay, this is a little bit weird. I will tell you my favorite episode though. I think the episode is called Teen Line. And this may be like the 5th episode. I'm just spitballing right now, but I think that episode is funny because it's an episode about Principal Todman banning cell phones, and and the kids have to go through 8 hours with no phones. It's kind of funny, so I'm not gonna lie. That episode is pretty hilarious and right on the nose with real Saved by the Bell humor. With all the characters too, so hats off for that. But yeah, I'm gonna go 2.5, 3. 3 as in watchable. For all you old school fans like myself, please check it out, and you decide whether you will go back. I'm not certain I will go back, and that's just me. I'm just right now. That's just how I feel now. Who knows? Let it simmer for like a day or a week or a year or a season, and then I'll probably will go back to it. I won't stop talking about it. I'll definitely promote the hell out of it, but I got my fix is all I'm saying, and I'm interested to see what they do with these new kids, because they're all very talented and they all deserve this kind of shine. And I hope that this brings them a season 2 or 3 or more, and the new generation appreciates this craft. But no more making fun of. They got to be able to stand on their own. I don't want to see this show become successful off of making what it is or what it was the butt of the joke all the time. Let's try to be a little more creative and do things outside that box. But overall, yeah, 2.5, 3, very, very watchable. I don't know if I'll go back to it, but out of 5, of course, 2.5 out of 5 to a 3. Yeah, that's just my review on the Saved by the Bell reboot versus Saved by the Bell of the past. And I hope that you all take the time to go check it out at least, and then come back. We convene and we talk about it, and we say, Klep, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Klep, you were right on, man. I get it. I feel you, or whatever. So like, comment, share, and make sure you guys subscribe. And I will talk to you guys later. Peace.